researcher Brene Brown. You might have seen her TED Talks before. She's from the University of Houston. She likes to talk about vulnerability, and shame and empathy are her three big hitters. And she doesn't do well with vulnerability, and neither do I. So I feel like I relate to her a lot in a lot of ways. But through her research and some of the own positive experiences that I've had lately with being vulnerable and sharing my story with infertility, specifically with miscarriages, we've had 3 of them. I've just felt really compelled to tell my story. It's a story that I have to be very vulnerable when I tell, which is difficult for me. Her premise is that our fear comes from shame. Shame is the fear of feeling like you are unlovable, or that people won't understand you or accept you if they know, if they whatever. And vulnerability is the way to fight that, because it allows for people to be empathetic, which is the destroyer of shame, Renee says. So I've already been able to help so many people with sharing my story, so I'm excited about what this platform can do as well. October 15th is the National Remembrance Day of Pregnancy and Infant Loss. And so on that day, I'm going to be sharing our miscarriage stories. So if you want to be part of that, then subscribe after this video. I'll also be sharing, leading up to there, some of the things that I've learned through having 3 miscarriages and talking to other women that have shared in that experience as well. It doesn't feel supernatural for me to talk about this. I think just not being in the practice of being vulnerable with people, the more that you do it, the easier it becomes, for sure. And I think that what I'm learning is that it's really important for us to share our pain stories, because we're especially living in a world right now where we just see everyone's highlight reel of their life, and that can be really depressing when you're going through something rough. I'm going to talk about what a miscarriage feels like, and there's kind of 2 parts to this. There's the physical side and there's the emotional side. And I can only speak for myself and my experience. So if you've had a different experience, I would love to hear about it in the comments below or through my blog. I've been blogging about it. My website is lowinlife.com. I'll put it in the description. But again, this is just my story. It's not everybody's, and so somebody else going through this might have a completely different experience. So for example, my first 2 were at 12 weeks, and physically speaking, they were excruciatingly painful. Like laying on the bed, writhing in pain, looking for something to bite down on or grab or anything just to get through the pain, the physical pain. The last time that it was like that, I thought, I need to get to the emergency, it's so bad. I was like in so much pain I couldn't get to the car. So I waited it out, and that lasted for about half an hour, and then it was just kind of like normal cramps. The first one was like that too, except it lasted for a couple hours. But then I miscarried at 9 weeks, so a few less, and that one was virtually, physically speaking, painless. Other women have experienced that as well, like around 6 weeks. I've heard it described as just like a really heavy period and maybe some cramping or discomfort. Again, the type of miscarriage you have can have a totally different result, but it can be really physically painful. And it's important to know that so that you can schedule the right amount of time off of work, or if you need to talk to your partner or whoever about childcare or anything like that, if you already have some kids. I always thought infertility was mostly like, oh, you either can or you can't get pregnant, and then, you know, women who went in with infertility issues and then were able to get pregnant, it was kind of like smooth sailing. I never thought that we'd be able to have a child and then experience infertility and miscarriage afterward. That really surprised me. So we have a 3-year-old, but we had 1 miscarriage before him and 2 after. Emotionally is a whole different ballgame, because the physical pain is over quite quickly and the emotional pain kicks around for a little longer. I remember for the first one, it was, for me, again, just for me, it was a solid week of just feeling like the lowest probably that I ever have in my life. I remember sitting on the couch with a cup of tea, staring out our big front window, and just not wanting to move. Like, just not wanting to... I felt numb, and I described this when I wrote about it in my blog, that it just feels like the world is black and white. Like, my tea didn't have flavor, and you look outside and it's a sunny day, but you can just see everything in like grayscale. It's just black and white. That's how you feel inside, and it's just like projected on your experience. My husband and I felt the emotional pain a little bit differently, where different timing, I should say. Mine was very immediate. It lasted about a week, and then I was like, okay, it's time to be happy, it's time to try again, I feel good. You still have sort of pangs of disappointment or sadness, but the crying was over, and it was like, okay, time to move on, time to try again and have something beautiful come out of this. And for Jake, it was like more sporadic. I feel like he'd be really great, and then all of a sudden it would just be like a hard moment for him. And I had to just remember that as individuals we feel pain differently and different times, and that was really important to remember. From the moment you find out that you're pregnant, it's not just, oh, I'm going to be a mom and I'm excited. It's like, I get to decorate a nursery, I did shopping for onesies and diaper bags, and I got to join mom groups, and I'm going to be on mat leave, and for some that's exciting and for some that's not, but there's just so many things that we immediately start planning and being excited for. And when your pregnancy ends, it's a disappointment, not just for the loss, but for the loss of every single one of those dreams that you had, every single thing that you imagined for that child. And miscarrying after we had a child, it was thinking about that he also lost, and he's not aware of it, but I'm thinking of him and his sibling together, right? And so there was like a new loss. So you're mourning so many different disappointments, along with the fact that something that was alive inside you is no longer. I did find it extremely difficult to be at really happy, like, festive occasions. And for some reason, all three of my miscarriages have happened when someone's getting married, or it's like a special birthday or a special occasion, and I've tried to go to those things then, and I had a really hard time with that. I remember the first time it happened, I was going to, a couple days after, we were going to a wedding of one of my good friends from my past, and she's actually a really big vlogger about her infertility experience, not with miscarriage, but just with trying to get pregnant. I'll put her link in the description. She's J&D Robs, and her videos are fantastic as well. But they were getting married that year, and I just remember like trying so hard to feel happy and be social, and I remember making it all the way to the end, and it was like, okay, I've made new friends, I've been happy and supportive and had a good time, and then the dance party started, and I just like watched everyone getting crazy and having fun, and just thinking, my pretending can only go so far. I cannot make it to that dance floor. For me, like, getting over something means wanting to be in a submarine at the bottom of the ocean. For other people, they want people around them, and those happy times can be a really good distraction, so it's totally up to you. My take home for this video is just that if you are experiencing a miscarriage, you've just experienced a miscarriage, someone that you love has, you're not alone. And that's just what I want you to know and go away with. And if you want to share your stories, I'd love to hear them. I would love to empathize with you. And stay connected if you want to see the rest of my videos. And on October 15th, I'd love to share my stories in more detail with you.